Hi, my name's Jayne Gackenbach, and I'm with McEwen University and Athabasca University. I'm going to be talking to you about my research over the last 20 years, looking at the relationship between video game play and lucid dreaming. You can find this and many of my other studies at my website, janegackenbach.ca. The first topic I want to touch on is media use. Not surprisingly, media use was always of some interest, but not a big issue in 1975. By 2008, you can see the whole media ecology is much more complex and intermingled. But that was 2008, so we're talking another bunch of years have passed. So that if we look at 2023, we have so much more software, including AI being very real. But despite all of this software, hardware, home ecology, where these electronic media are pervasive and invasive, they're not yet as immersive and widespread being the key here, as video game play. So the overview of, or conceptual background to my work is the idea that while some waking experiences of consciousness offer an approximation of nighttime dreams, things like fantasy, drug state, so forth, none are as vivid and interactive as the digital reality, at least in terms of its widespread and easy access, and again, more and more so as time passes. The most immersive digital reality, which is widely used, is video game play. Again, yes, VR itself is much more immersive, but it is not as widely used. Thus, I'm remaining with the use studying video game play and its implications for dreams, thus consciousness. Thus, the effects of video game play and nighttime dreams have been the focus of this research, especially lucid dreams, that is, dreams where the dreamer knows they are dreaming, so presumably bringing consciousness into sleep, while they are still in the dream. It is thought that the practice in alternative realities, in this case video games, would increase the likelihood of recognizing another reality when it occurs, or nighttime dreams, or at least impact nighttime dreams. So in another series of studies we did, we found what we call the nightmare protection. And that is that people who game in combat-centric games, when they find themselves in a nightmare, they're being attacked, they're being chased, they fight back, having well-rehearsed fighting technique in video games. And in fact, they rarely call it a nightmare and enjoy it. Now, this relationship is theoretically based on the game transfer phenomenon. Gaming experience transfers to various real world and imaginary world experiences, and the generalizability of the imaginal experience in training and treatment. So in this presentation, I'm going to do a brief survey of research examining the relationship between video game play and lucid dreaming, particularly two previous studies. And then I'm going to do a new data analysis using linguistic-based dream content analysis with more recent samples. So the first was a 10-year summary that we did from 2006 to 2016. We had 35 dream samples, but chose 8 of them because they were basically had sample characteristics that were very similar, and all the question about the dream was, give us your most recent dream. So there was no nightmare confounds, or no, we didn't specifically ask for lucid dreaming. So in some sense, one could argue it's the most neutral of the information asked for. We did find a weak but significant positive correlation between dream lucidity as assessed by judges in 3 different ways and years. So as the time went past, more and more people seem to be having dream lucidity types of experiences. Now that, of course, could be accounted for by the increased awareness of lucidity over that period of time. But we also found a positive correlation between 2 video game play measures. This is self-report measures of history of video gaming and years. So at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean one causes the other, but these are both happening, not just video gaming, but our immersion in digital realities is increasing, as is our awareness of the potential of lucid dreaming. So as time passed, more people were gaming and more people were reporting lucid dreams. We did another study in 2017 and 2018 where this time we asked specifically for dreams that had some kind of media. Could be either passive, TV, movies, or interactive, video games, social media. We collected about 100 of each type. The interactive dreams were higher on the subscales of lucidity that they were coded, insight, memory, realism, and positive emotions, more so than the passive. And the interactive were also higher on various gaming variables that were self-report. How much game consumption was there? Was there a problem in video game? How engaged in video games? So again, we're seeing a correlation here. I'm not sure one causes the other, but it certainly more directly addresses the hypothesis. So in order to bring this data up to 2022, I used bulkily sleep and dream data, selecting dreams from 2015 to 2022. There's over 50,000 dreams in this selection, and you can call it for specific questions. So I chose the technology and science category, and then within that, I identified dreams that had video games or computer games mentioned in them as versus those that did not. So the ones that did not have video games still had technology mentioned, and that's important to keep in mind. Compared 50 video game dreams to 50 technology dreams with no video game content. And we did it using the LIWC, that is the Linguistic Inventory and Word Count, the 2022 version. It is a widely used linguistic data analysis system tabulating word frequencies. It's incredibly easy to use, and so for someone like me who's retired and doesn't have students anymore, is very appealing. And in fact, two previous studies, which appeared in Dreaming, looked at dreams from the point of view of the LIWC, both the norms, Hall and Vandy Castle, and nightmares and lucid dreams. So lucid dreams, first I wanted to see what do they look like in the LIWC? And I used a sample of my own from 2010. And in the 2022 version, there was a category called TAT fantasy. In other words, it's waking fantasy from the thematic apperception test. Now, this kind of idea of comparing dreams to waking fantasy is often used in the dream research literature as a way to try to say, are there really differences between nighttime dreams and waking fantasy? So what we found is lucid dreams were higher than these waking fantasy cognitions in authenticity, that is the tendency to speak more spontaneously and do not regulate or filter what they say, the use of I, and memory. And in general, this is found anytime you look at linguistic analysis of dreams, but it's nice to see it in terms of lucid dreams. However, the waking fantasy was higher in these linguistic variables than the lucid dreams in terms of clout, that's a relative social status or confidence. In other words, when you're presenting a fantasy, probably ego's playing a lot in it, and various social references. And often, lucid dreaming has been pointed out, there's fewer characters in it, and so the social element isn't necessarily automatically manifest. So then if we looked at these two dreams, the video game dreams, the technology that have video game mentioned, but those that do not, using the LIWC, 8 variables showed differences between dreams and waking fantasy. Clout was less in dreams, okay, and that we just saw a moment ago. So dreams aren't necessarily about expressing the ego. That's what's so wonderful about them, is you get underneath all that stuff. Both kinds of dreams were higher than the waking fantasy and authenticity, the use of I, culture, leisure, home, and space. Only one linguistic variable had dream type differences. That is, gaming dreams were higher in technology than non-gaming dreams. Remember, the non-gaming dreams were still in the technology category. So gaming seems to add even more about technology, which feeds into this idea that there is something going on in terms of certainly the impact of technology on nighttime dreams and its implications. The lucid type variables that we might be looking for, cognitive process, memory, and affect, did not show up, although in Kelly Bulkley's earlier study, he did find some of these with lucid dreaming. So what can we conclude? There's weak support for video game lucidity connection over a 17-year period and multiple samples. Most samples are from university undergraduates in Western Canada, and the strongest in the studies were where judges coded the dreams, and the dreams were recent, and no special type was asked for. The weakest was in the recent data where computer-aided linguistic-based coding was done on dreams that were specifically technological. But the LIWC does offer a new direction in examining dream content if somewhat constrained. So here are my references, and again, this information and other information on my research program can be found at my website, janegackenbach.ca.